I found a way of making over 500 LP in just 1 week of playing, and you can do it too. Just by using these simple 3 steps, you're gonna be able to go from this to that. So when it comes to League of Legends, we have 2 things that we care the most. The first one is the micro, so how you play mechanically, and then the macro, which is how to play the map. I needed something that could actually give me the informations and the statistics that I actually needed. And so here's what I found on the internet. This website is called European Builds or Korean Builds, both of them. You can see all the builds of the players, what is the most played champion, which are the best champions in the patch, all this kind of stuff. So I'm gonna help you to dive through this website, which I think it's insanely easy, and the information that it gives, it's quite valuable. We're not talking about win rates, we're talking about what to pick, how to itemize, and all this stuff like that. So especially for new outcomers, the first thing that we're gonna go is to simply select our role. We can select our role by going on champion statistics and then select the role of ADC. This video especially is for ADCs, since we're gonna dive in some specific things, but you can also give a shot at it, especially with other roles, so don't worry about that. We are watching the first 3 ADCs that are the most played. We are based on the pick rate here, as you can see. The most picked champion right now is Kai'Sa, the second one is Ezreal, and the third one is Jhin. They all have a lot of pick rate, and as you can see, the win rate does reflect the pick rate. When the pick rate is quite high, the win rate will be lower. But that doesn't mean that the champion is bad. It simply means that many people play it, and so people that are good are increasing the win rate, people that are bad are just decreasing it, okay? So for this strategy to work, we have to play the first 3 champions in the patch. So as we can see, we have Kai'Sa, Ezreal, and Jhin. And what I did to get 500 LP fast was to actually take advantage of that. But what I found out that is gonna be the best thing to actually climb up, especially in the Aguerillos, is to pick those first 3 champions. But be careful. That's not what I want to pass, right? Because everyone will say, oh, but I don't want to play those 3 champions, right? You can play whatever you want. There's a simple rule that I will give you now that is gonna make your gameplay 3 times better, at least, of when you were actually playing without it. But before doing that, the first thing that we're gonna do is to check the tier list tab, which is the most important one in my opinion in this website. It is so nice. You can search and as you can see, we have a pretty clear tier list of what is strong and what is bad. As we can see on the S tier, we have Tristana, Kai'Sa, Ezreal, and Jhin. We are opting for the first 3 that have the most play rate, so Kai'Sa, Ezreal, and Jhin in my case. But this is quite a nice tool, especially for people that are newcomers or people that don't play since a lot. So make sure to have a check on this tier list tab. It is gonna be quite important. And not only that, if you wanna dive deeper into the champion, you also have a statistic tab where you can check all the statistics and what people are playing in my elo. So diamond above, right? As you can see, we have all the runes, what they play with summoner spells, their -3, what they use as item order. That's just a word of information that you can all catch, especially of really good players, high pro players, and so much more. So this strategy is, of course, taking the first 3 champions in the patch, but when you're playing in a lower elo, so silver, even like gold, plat, you don't really have to take the first 3 champions, but the most important thing to follow is this little chart here. I call it the rule of 3. So the rule of 3 is basically something that makes sure that you keep consistency as ADC. Reason being that the ADC role is a heavy mechanical role. As you really care about your mechanics rather than how you play the map and so much more, this is still valuable of course, but what we care about is how we play the game. So keeping a line of 3 champions is the best thing that I found out to be. And here's how I actually used it. So as first, I decided to have my main, which was Ezreal in this patch. He is insanely strong, versatile, good first pick, all this kind of stuff that we really want to have, especially the more high you go. And so I decided this should have been my main for the patch. Because patch shift is, right? Like maybe they will nerf Ezreal, so I could change my main if the patch changes and so much more. But the rule of 3 will always stay. So I pick Ezreal as my first main. What does this mean is that if they ban it, if they do whatever to this champion and I can't play it, I'm not gonna dodge, I'm simply gonna go for my second pick, which is Kai'Sa. The dodge is simply something that you're gonna do if all your 3 champions are banned or if the draft is bad. So this is not the case, okay? So if Ezreal is banned, we're gonna go for Kai'Sa, which is our second pick. And then we have our Jolly pick, which is if our two champions are both banned or picked. Taking a fast look at my OPGG, you can see how I executed with the strategy. So I played 125 games of Ezreal, having 55% win rate, 20 games of Kai'Sa having 60% win rate. And then here's the funny part. So I tried playing Varus for a bit, but I actually discovered that I wasn't really playing really well with it. So I had a really negative win rate, and picking it as a third champion actually didn't work quite well. Okay? The hardest part is since your third champion is gonna be the one that you play the less, you wanna be really consistent at it, and so it has to be something easy to execute most of the times. That's at least in my opinion. But anyways, I then swapped out to Jhin, made only 8 games of Jhin, so in total you're not gonna play your third champion that much, but 8 games of Jhin with a 63% win rate, resulting in an overall a 54% win rate in Master 500, which is objectively a good number. Here we are probably with the hardest thing that I think no one is actually able to do when properly playing their League of Legends sessions. It's probably the hardest skill to learn, so be aware of it and try to learn it as fast as possible because it's literally game changing, and that's what is actually improving your gameplay. So, the mistake that probably 95% of you is doing is to endlessly play games, believing that you, once a day or maybe probably in the near future are gonna be better at the game. But the reality is that you should always try to treat scaling and going up in elo as a new barrier entry that you need to learn and then effectively become that good at playing there. That is where we talk about breaks and reviews. League is both, as when you're playing ADC, a mechanical, but also like a really important game where if your mental is not on the right direction, you're never gonna carry games, even if you're one of the best players in the world. Because your mental does a huge job at thinking, can I win this, can I lose this, and you don't wanna compromise that kind of mental. So let's have a check on how I managed to keep my mental sane while playing the game. So, as we can see, I have this tiny rule where if I am on a win streak, I play till I lose. This is pretty important because when you're on a win streak, you tend objectively to have better teammates, and so you just gotta push it up. The more you can push, the better it is. I literally went into a 9 winning streak games. I was never stopping, and everything was going really well till I had a really bad lose, and then of course I just stopped. So when you make a lose after a huge win streak, the problem is you're not gonna be again with the same players that were during the win streak. They tend to be a bit weaker. That doesn't mean that the game is scripted or whatever. You just have to think about it more as some kind of casino, let's say, okay? So when you play blackjack or something like that, you can't always win, and that's exactly what League is. It's more of a statistical game, where you can go high if you know how it works, and you can get a little edge out of it. When you get a huge win streak and you get a lose, you're gonna go on a queue which is a bit harder, which means that it's gonna be harder to go up, because you won a lot earlier, so now what? You're not gonna win till Challenger or something, even if you're the best player in the game. So, what you have to do is just take a pause and review the game that you just lost, checking out if you made any mistakes or stuff like that. I would highly advise to take a pause, of course, a pause for the day, honestly, after you win 9 and you lose 1, you pretty much call it a day. I will say, you're pretty happy. It's you come in with $100, you come out with 500, and you're like, okay, I'm done for the day, right? You're happy, you take your profit, you take your advantages that you had, and you simply call it a day. For losing instead, this is a bit worse. Probably the hardest part of the strategy is that when you lose a lot, people tend to mid out and they just explode, okay? Because loses could be what breaks your mental the most. So when you play, there are gonna be situations where you're on a win streak, and then there are gonna be situations where you're on a lose streak, but there are also gonna be situations where we call it stale. So there could be a win streak, then we go down, then there's gonna be a stale. Stale is when you win one game, lose one game, and then there are gonna be lose streaks, okay? The important thing is that you recognize when you are in a lose streak and why you are in it, okay? Because there are two types of lose streaks, let's say. The one that is pretty much unchangeable, and the one that you are creating by yourself by playing badly, okay? If you recognize that you're playing badly, you should stop and just review those games and call it a day. I know it's hard. I know many of you will be like, no man, I don't want to stop at 3 losses, but you gotta stop, review, and try to understand if it's really you or not. I think that mentally you can understand if you are the problem or not. If you're not, you can also try to keep going. I wouldn't advise that, because most of the times you don't really realize that maybe your problem is really you. But I would likely suggest to just pause, review the game, and then take quite a good break and try to understand if you are at the same level of who you're playing against. So let's see how I implemented this strategy while playing. We are gonna start from here. So I just lost one game starting my session. Then I, of course, kept continuing because, you know, it could be a normal sign. So normal, you know, we are playing maybe winning one, losing one. It's kind of luckiness or stuff like that. So, and I keep going. I win one game. I win 2 games. I win 3 games. We can consider this a win streak, right? And then I lost one. So when I lost one, I just took a break. I took a break, just watched outside, took my break, take some water, because you kind of give some oxygen to the brain and all this stuff like that. And then I just kept going, right? Because again, if you have time, of course, it's all about time in the end. You just keep going. There's nothing wrong. I lost 2 games. I won 3. So for now, I am, let's say, in the good, in the green. And we just keep going. I won 2 games and I lost 1. I wasn't in win streak yet, so we can say that this was kind of unlucky. You can still take a break. I would always take a break in between like the loses. It's like 5 minutes, but you don't have to watch the replay. It could be like, you know, 50 minutes usually. Also 20-minute games, 50-minute games. You usually don't have to review them. It kind of depends on how bad they were in terms of like teammates. And so here we are with the huge win streak. 1, 2, 3, 4 games. 4 games where I completely stomped the enemy, 27. And then I just lose 1 game. Even here, I took a break. It was a 50-minute game, so unlucky. It happens, as you can see. Like, you have this kind of game where you're winning a lot, and then bam, you're losing the game. So I lost the game. I took a break. Watched the replay. Of course, you know, you watch the replay and you're like, okay, I couldn't do anything. Like, the game was completely open. And you don't have to be bad, to be sad about it. So if you think that this wasn't your fault, you can keep on going. I kept on going, lost another game. And here's the problem, right? Someone's mental here could be kind of compromised. If you're gonna lose the 3rd game, you're just gonna stop and then just keep on going. Yeah, but I won the other game, and so I just kept going. Another win, another win, another win, and I went to 4 wins, and I lose a game 30 minutes 8-0. So now I'm gonna watch the replay, take a break, and play again. I won 1, lost 2. You just keep on going with this kind of cycle, and basically by doing this tiny strat, you're gonna improve every single time. Why? Because you're always playing the same champion, because you're watching your own mistakes, and you're effectively improving. And now, the last thing that I want to talk about, which I think it's the most important one, is concentration. We talked about how to pick your champion, how to decide your pool, like all the things before even starting out, when to stop, when to start. But we didn't talk about the most important thing, which in my opinion is concentration. Concentration is, we can say, some kind of emotion. I guess, like something like that. The concentration is what makes you play well, what makes you focused on an objective, right? And so why are we here on Amazon, right? Like, you know, watching headphones? Because I feel like one of the most important things when playing League is your head setup. And in general, there's a study where people that play, it could be video games, it could be anything, they have something that we can call natural instinct of going over what they can do. Let's just make an example about what I'm talking, because probably it's hard for some people. But let's suppose I am a basketball player and I do my training, right? I work hard, I do everything that I can, and there's a study that says that you can give your 100% during the training. What's funny is that once then you are into the game, we lose a lot of concentration, because there's the crowd, because there's the pressure. So all these things, when you play a league game, you actually have them, especially if you're playing on a competitive environment. What we're aiming for in our solo queue games is to be at the best of our concentration possibly most of the times when we are ranking up. It's kind of realistic, like it's some kind of unrealistic thing to keep the concentration every single minute. There are some people that have a good concentration, there are some people that have a bad concentration. I think concentration basically relies on your ability to understand and to learn, and how much time you can keep the focus on a specific thing before actually swapping out and with your brain, like closing it out, right? We can really talk about this for years, but many people that I know have a real problem on this as well, because they tend to change and swap out focus a lot while playing. They can't concentrate, and I see also as well a lot on people that I coach. My best advice to keep concentration is to buy a good headset. Why? A good headset can literally change your league career, your gameplay. It can change the whole thing, because not hearing what's outside of like the game is actually making you so much focused towards what you're doing. Many people instead, you know, they play with their phone. They stay like, oh yes, I'm gonna play with my phone while I do that. You know, I'm playing the game, but at the same time I'm like texting to my girlfriend, all this kind of stuff. Now, I said that everyone could, you know, play and make this strategy, so you don't really need the insane headphones to start with. I think you can also start with the tiny ones, which are like literally $5 to $10. They do screw your ears a bit, so I would change them in the long term, but this is completely accessible to everyone. You just need literally $5, $10. You take the mini headphones, put them on, and try to not think about anything else. If you keep those 3 rules that I've told you, I'm pretty sure you're gonna go up. So guys, we've come to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed and you liked the content. If you liked it, please make sure to subscribe. This kind of content takes so much time to make in a certain way, and I think this is probably gonna be helpful for a lot of you. So in case, again, make sure to leave a like, subscribe for this content, and see you in the next days. Bye.